Good morning. The title of the devotional this morning is My Goodness, That's Me. The parables of Jesus are one of the most fascinating parts of his teaching. They're told as stories, but they also invite the listeners to hear the story as a story. Then, of course, we are invited very intentionally to see ourselves in the story. Helmut Thielke, in his book of the parables called The Waiting Father, relates an experience with his very young son in which the son stands before a mirror and suddenly, as he makes motions, suddenly he says, "That's me." He exclaims, "That's me." Dr. Thielke then remarks, the same thing may happen to us when we hear this story. And of course, he's talking about the parables and how we might see ourselves in this parable and others. He's referring, of course, to what we commonly call the parable of the prodigal son, but which could aptly be titled the parable of the waiting father. Don't you like that a little bit too? When you read or hear this intriguing story, with which character do you identify? In which person is there a mirror for you today? Let's look very briefly at the possibilities. You may want to reread the parable, which is story told in Luke 15:11 through 32. The younger son has myriad mirror potentials. Have you ever, as you were growing up, thought of what your life might be like if you had all of the money and the things that your parents had? How much power you would have? What fun you could have with life? Where you could go? How you might live? Ever thought of asking for some of what will finally be yours anyway? Why not ask Dad for just some of it now? He really doesn't need it all anyway, does he? And if something happens and he gets ill, I'll take care of him. So the younger son, with some perhaps similar thoughts, says to his father, "I want my share of the inheritance now before you die." And the father divides his property between them. Is there a part of this dividing up that is a mirror for us today? In a sort of detour way, have we been given a share of God's gifts of talent and time and power and strength and abilities and other treasures that He has bestowed upon us without our asking? Ever think of your body with all of your abilities, your seeing, your hearing, your smelling, your muscles, your eating and tasting, walking and running? Ever think of these and consider them your creation as a gift that you didn't have to ask for? And what if you have some special gifts, which most of us do, I think, if we realize it? Gifts that we have received from God. Memory, creativity, your wonderful mind and your caring heart, your privilege of loving. And to continue the story, the younger son gathers everything and leaves home with it all. And what about the feelings and thoughts of the father as he sees this son, one of his sons, who he loves dearly, walk out the door, down the path, and to what, and to who knows what or where? No, the father doesn't really know, does he? He doesn't know what's going to happen to him. He hopes for the best, but he doesn't know what's going to happen or where he'll wind up or what kind of crowd he might fall in with, take up with, who will accept him perhaps readily because he's got money and he needs to be helped to enjoy it, doesn't he? And what about the older brother who watches all this happening? Ever put yourself in his place as he watches all this proceeding, hears his younger brother ask for the share, watches the father, listens to the father as his father says, okay, I'll give it to you. What's going on in the mind and heart of the older brother? Does he have a concern for his younger brother? Does he worry about his younger brother? Does he have a real deep love for his brother? Do we see ourselves in this mirror? What am I thinking and feeling about my brother as he receives the share of the inheritance? But let's hurry on to the next scene of this story. The younger son, free at last from his father's corrections and disciplines, he heads out to see the world. I'm on my own. I'll do it my way. And he winds up, as you remember the story, feeding the pigs. Can you put yourself in his situation, in his sandals, if he still has sandals? The most significant and critical sentence in the whole story is told in verse 17. When he came to himself. The New Living Translation reads a little differently, and I like it. When he came to his senses. What does this statement mean to you? Have you ever been there? Things are going badly. Nothing is going the way that I expected. I can't take this anymore. I've got to do something with my life, but I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't have anyone to talk to. I don't have anyone to turn to. No one wants to help me. I can't find anyone to listen to me. Help! Help me, please. Someone help me. That's the opening, isn't it? A break in the clouds, a light in my darkness. I will go home to my father. I'm not sure that he will accept me back as his son. I don't know what will happen when I go home, but I'll go anyway. Is this my image in the mirror of the parable? Is this your likeness? Jump with me then to the answer in verse 20. The story reads, while he was still afar off, his father saw him and was filled with compassion. Hear the feeling? Hear his caring, filled with compassion. He runs and puts his arms around him, around his son, embraces him, and kisses him. Now, do you see yourself in the mirror? I invite you to see your very own self in this beautiful mirror. I do hope you can see yourself there and feel yourself there. Feel the hugging, the embracing, the caring, the loving of the Father. I do hope that you know your Heavenly Father is exactly like this. I really do hope that you see yourself embraced, hugged, kissed, warmly received. I hope you do. I really do. Oh my goodness, that's me.